Uh-oh, a bullet's heading for the door.
Are you ready to surrender, Rattler? Reckon he needs a mite more softening up. Well, I hate to do this, but I'll just have to use my ricochet revolver.
Uh-oh, a bullet's heading for the door. Now it's heading for the window. Can't get in. Uh-oh. And I was worried about a little bitty bullet. Like that. Nothing worse than a sneaky bullet.
Coffee about ready, Deputy Droop-along?
Yes, sir, Mr. Ricochet. I think I got a pretty good do on the batch, even if I do say so myself.
A mite strong, wouldn't you say?
Gotta quit using that hard water. How big a chunk of coffee you want, Mr. Ricochet?
Saved by the bell. Sheriff, bing, bing, bing. Ricochet Rabbit. Rapid results, raiding raucous revelers, routing riotous revolts, and removing rampant rascals round roundups and rodeos at your service. Only one man can beller like that. J.P. Nuggets must need our help.
Be right with you, Mr. Ricochet. Sure like to know how he does that.
It's like getting out of school all over again. Sal, I'm out here Monday night, the Back in the Day show, on brought to you by Digital Saviors Chicago, transferring audio, video. If it's got pictures, movies, sound, we can transfer it to CD, DVD, video files, you name it, gets transferred, and it'll last a lifetime. Call us anytime at 815-556-2685 for details, or you can visit the website at digitalsaviorschicago.com. So it's the Back in the Day show, week 6. Is this week 6? Yeah, week 6. And as you know, every week we're talking old school and everything from back in the day. And then what we started doing is, let's bring some guests on from back in the day and talk about everything from back in the day. So I thought, I haven't talked to Coco Cortez in a long time. And Coco is from Chicago. She was at Z95 before a long time ago, then B96, then 103.5, The Beat, which was a jam and oldie station before it became Kiss FM here in Chicago, and a variety of other radio stations. So I called Coco and I says, hey, let's get you on the show. And she said, okay, cool. Sounds great. Bring me on the show and let's talk. So there's Coco Cortez, as promised. Say hello, honey.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Sal.
How are you? Look at you.
So
You
good
got your
to see you after all these years, even if it's online.
Yeah, you got your set all dressed real nice and everything. Look at that.
Yeah, I have my leopard. Everybody
You're-
knows I have leopards, so
Leopard.
I'm the leopard queen.
It's like that scene in Bodyguard. You got to coordinate.
Yes.
Gotta have the mushroom belt. Gotta have the mushroom belt.
I have a question though for you. You say it's back in the day.
Yeah.
I'm only 25.
Yeah, me too. That's what I keep telling myself. Yeah. Sometimes I like to bullshit myself too. It's easier that way.
I know, right?
Yeah.
This is showing my age now. Now I can't get away with saying, oh yeah, I'm 40, I'm 33, I'm this, I'm that.
Well, today you can identify as anything. So I just say I'm 12. And if anybody's got a problem, then up yours,
Yeah.
So what have you been doing? What's going on with you? Let's start with you being from Chicago, right?
Oh, yes. Oh, my Chicago. I love my city. I love it so much. Born and raised in the city, not the suburbs. I have a thing about that. When people say they're from Chicago, like, because I'm living in Phoenix right now, and they say, oh, I'm from Bolingbrook. No, you're from the suburbs. You're not from Chicago. So I'm a stickler about that. But I am. I was born and raised in Chicago at St. Elizabeth's Hospital. That was on Western, just before Division. And my dad had a tuxedo rental store on Chicago Avenue between Hoyne and Levitt. And I first started out at public school at Talcott. And And then later, my dad decided that, we should go to Catholic school. So we went to Catholic school at Holy Name Cathedral on State in Chicago. And that was like all my sisters and myself and my brother. So it was like a whole line of Cortezes. And I'd always get compared to the sister before. Oh, well, your sister did really good in algebra. Well, I'm not her.
I won't be doing that today.
Exactly. And I just, I was just really, Chicago's a great radio town.
Yes. Yes, it was.
Really is. And it's always pretty much been throughout history. I think Chicago's been big in radio, big names. And I was influenced a lot, actually, by Steve Dahl and Gary Meyer when they used to have the morning show on the Loop back in the day. And I don't know if you remember this, but they used to broadcast live from the Oak Theater. It's not even there anymore. It was on Russian Oak. And I would go there in the morning, get there at 5. And then I'd walk over to school, State in Chicago, when the 7:20 bell rang. So I was there for a couple of hours, and I became a coho lip. That was one of the
hippie. You hippie.
Yes. I even went to the Disco Demolition Derby, and I took my sister's Donna Summer record, and she got so pissed off at me. And we got on the, in between the games, everybody just rushed the field, and it was great. I loved it. I loved it.
I can't believe you did that. Shame.
Yes, I know. And then the thing is, I got into disco after that because I was like, hey, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Rock and roll was everything. I went to Chicago Fest. I was all into the rock journey and
Chicago Fest. Oh my God!
Remember Chicago Fest when Jane Byrne was mayor?
Yeah, and it was at the old Navy Pier when Navy Pier was run down, dilapidated, rat infested.
Yes.
The green, and my mother did a couple of years on the blues stage. And a lot of people, you had Journey, right? Frank Sinatra.
Yes.
Let me pull this up. Check this out. You'll get a kick out of this. I think people watching will love it too here. Where'd we go? We want to bring this in. Where'd we go? I'll get to you in a minute. I'll find it. Here we go. There. I'm going to pull this up full screen. So I don't know if you can. Right now, I pulled up the Wikipedia about Chicago Fest. Look, Jane Byrne couldn't pay for a party, but she sure as hell knew how to throw one,
Oh, yes.
Look, you had the Doobie Brothers.
God, look at that.
Look at the history. You had the Doobie Brothers, Carole King, George Burns, Orleans, Chicago, REO, the Commodores, Kool and the Gang. I remember when I was working on Bad Boys, we were diagonal from that at the Naval Armory, and U2 was there, and we were on break listening to U2, and I wasn't a U2 fan at all, so had to be that summer of '82. I didn't like U2, but we could hear it, and there were people out there listening to U2 because they were right across the water from us at that time.
Yeah, I remember seeing a bunch of bands, and then Muddy Waters was there. And
yeah.
We saw them, and they were like on a stage where behind them was the lake. So it was like a beautiful view, and it was a really nice stage.
Well, yeah, because originally what they had is the side stages ran along like where the Speed Dog boat is or whatever that is.
Yeah.
The inner boats. So they had these little side stages. They had like a comedy stage, and then they had the blues stage, and their backs were to the water, and they were in the whatever they call those bleachers where we sat on watching. We're facing them. Yeah, Muddy Waters, Charlie Musselwhite was there one year. They had Elvin Bishop was there. I was always at the blues stage. That was my favorite stage.
Yeah.
Aside from the year when WJPC won 24/7, they had the roller rink up on the second floor. So I hung out up there too for a while.
Wow, we really are going back in the day, huh?
Yeah. There was the year JPC won 24/7. They had a roller rink to celebrate it at Chicago Fest. But look at just look at the artists, man. And then when Journey was there, there was 110,000 people. Sinatra, there was like 110,000 people for those shows. It was insane.
Yeah, I was there for Journey. I was like pretty up close. They're my favorite rock. I mean, I have a lot of favorite bands and rock bands, but Journey is my favorite of all time. And I loved it because Steve Perry was singing, and they're from Oakland and the West Coast, and when he was singing that part, I wanna get back
in the city.
By the lake. They were by the lake, so they said lake instead of bay, and I thought that was so cool.
And there was a great documentary with Steve Perry, and he had talked how there was a lot of resistance about him when he joined the band, and because they wanted to be a particular kind of band, but then eventually they figured out, my God, this guy identifies us now. All of a sudden, there's the video. I'll show you the video for that song.
I love my Squarespace site's simple and beautiful design.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. That one.
Yes.
It's a great record.
Lights.
Yeah, what a voice.
Oh, I know. What a voice. I just so in love with his voice. I had posters on the wall. I'm really dating myself. I had my 8-tracks.
Yeah.
I had all of Journey's albums on on an 8-track because my dad got me an 8-track boombox for my birthday when I was a teenager. So I had everything on 8-track.
Well, back then we listened to a lot of stuff too because radio played a lot of different stuff. I mean, it was from Barry Manilow's Weekend in New England to Journey to Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes to the Ohio Players to Nick Gilder, Hot Child in the City, followed up by Exile, Kiss You All Over, followed up by Minnie Riperton, and then Natalie Cole, and then Bachman Turner Overdrive. It was a great variety of radio, of music back then versus today. Well, I mean, I know, to each their own. I don't hear a lot of musicianship or craftsmanship the way we did back then.
Right. And it's different. It's radio's changed so much.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it certainly has. Now you don't even have to listen to it anymore. It's great. I mean, you got a billion things to do. So back in the day, you were, obviously Steve Perry, but there were a lot of great rock voices back then. Like Steve, did you have any other rock artists that voices that were your favorite?
Well, Robert Plant from Zeppelin. I loved Steven Tyler, Aerosmith. There were so many groups. There was, like I said, I listened to the Loop, and I actually went to the Loop state. They had before I got into radio, I didn't know, but they were having a remote at Chicago Fest, and the Loop where they had their booth was like the most crowded. And I mean, I'm talking just every single rock song you could think of. I pretty much had it. Rod Stewart was another big one. Oh, I love Rod Stewart. My whole family loves Rod Stewart. That's how we got into Leopard.
Yeah, it was.
Because he used to wear leopard, like spandex
Rod
pants.
Stewart, yeah. Do you think I'm sexy video? Yeah, and or was it the Tonight's the Night video? There was a performance video for Tonight's the Night, and he had his leopard skin in on that too.
And I loved it.
Yeah, and there was a performance video I had seen once. I think it was was for Stay With Me. Was it Stay With Me or Maggie May? I think it was Stay With Me.
Yeah,
he had his leopard.
Stay With Me. Yeah, that was. Oh, I used to love it when he wore his spandex leopard pants because I'm like, oh God, that guy's got such a beautiful ass. Oh,
well, yeah, I okay.
Yeah, exactly. I think I left you speechless there. I can't believe that.
Did you know that originally he had a song out? He went by an artist named Python Lee Jackson before he went solo. Because he was with Jeff Beck, and I think it was before Jeff Beck. He had released the song as Python Lee Jackson because he thought it made him sound bluesier. So he used that name. Yeah, kind of like with the Beastie Boys, or no, the Pet Shop Boys. The reason why they went with the Pet Shop Boys name was because they thought it made him sound like a rap group. So listening to Neil Tennant talk with a British accent was going to make me really think he was from the Bronx, but hey, whatever,
My gosh.
Yeah.
You have like an encyclopedia in your head.
You work with the stuff.
How do you remember all this stuff?
Because I still work with it all to this day, whether I'm programming, whatever I'm doing, the side projects, nothing gets old. I'm still listening to Motorcycle Mama by Sailcat in my head as if it's yesterday. It's 50 years ago. It's bizarre. I know, but it just sits there because I work with it still, day in, day out, month in, month out, year in, year out. Radio stations, people, programmers need stuff. They call me, they ask me, I charge them a fee, and that's it. Moving on. Here's what you get. You need the songs. You need the library from June 3rd of 1972. See, rock radio, no problem. And it takes me about 8 minutes to put it all together. But that's what I do. So it's not a big thing. That's what I do for a living, amongst other projects, but it's just what I do. So
well, you should be on the air because you have a great personality. I love your voice. You sound so Chicago.
Thank you.
We have an accent, even though people don't think that we do. And I'm like, yeah, we do.
No, I tell everybody else they got an accent. See, they got the accent, not me. I talk right. They don't talk right.
They don't talk right. I know. When I was living in Houston or other cities that I've worked in San Diego, and I used to always go to the store or, order something and I'd be like, yeah, can I get a pop? And they're like, what?
Pop? A what?
I want a pop, like Coke, 7-Up, and they're like, oh, you mean soda?
Soda.
Or soda water in the South.
Yeah.
They said soda water.
Yeah. Or like they say, open the window. The what? The window. The what?
Yeah.
Open the window. What? They talk, like I said, they don't talk right down there. We talk right. They don't.
I do. I know. That's what I think. Because you say dad over there.
Over there. Yeah, it's over there. Front room.
Yeah, front room. Oh, I love front room.
The gangway. Go through the gangway over here. I got to go through the alley to get to the gangway. Don't nobody know what any of that means. I play it up when I'm working on Chicago Fire or anything. I play it up a little, and they look at me like, "What?" I said, "What? You don't understand normal English? What's wrong with you people? I mean, you're all sitting. You don't know what how could you? I'm offended. I'm offended. You don't understand me." And I go sit in my trailer, and they send me food, and then I come back out and play. Hey, let's talk about B96 when you got there, honey. You worked your way to B90. So you left. You were at Z95 briefly, right?
Yeah, briefly. I was there. Then they changed format, and you know how that happens sometimes when they change format, they clean house, and you're out of a job. Because back in the day, radio was pretty like a revolving door because everybody just moved around everywhere. But yes, I was at Z95, and then in 1981, my family decided to leave Chicago, and we moved to Houston. And it was in Houston that I got into radio. And then I worked at 2 stations here. One was a bilingual top 40, so I could speak Spanglish and play Tejano music.
Spanglish, that's right. I forgot about that.
And then the next station I worked for was called Energy 96.5, and that was top 40. And then from there, I sent a tape over to WGCI because I worked at GCI too for a little bit.
Oh, I didn't know that. Hey, surprise. How about that? You saved one. Okay.
It was Marv Dyson. It was Jimmy Smith.
Wow. Yeah, Jimmy Smith. Jesus.
Was it Jimmy Smith? Jimmy something.
It had to be Jimmy. Yeah, it had to be him. Had to be. Yeah, because Elroy wasn't. I don't think Elroy was there yet.
Right, exactly. And I remember
and Barbara Preto was there, but that was in between those, from what I remember.
Yeah. I remember walking in there, and I guess you're supposed to have an appointment, and I lied and said, "Oh yeah, I have an appointment." So they take me on back. They sit me in Jimmy's office. He doesn't know what's going on. He has a boombox sitting on his desk. So I went ahead and just opened it, put my air check in there, hit play. And then after that, I got hired.
And then you wound up. Yeah, but how long were you at GCI for?
I was at GCI not very long. December to probably like mid June.
So what year was it?
What year was GCI? Because it was.
Was that in was that in between before you got the B?
It was. It was in 89, 90.
Okay, all right.
89, 90, and then after that, I went to B96 in 1990. See, I was at B96 twice.
Yeah.
And in 1990, I went, and that was when they did have Eddie and Jobo in the morning. They had Pat Reynolds in the afternoon.
Oh my God, he was a blast. He
was a blast. He's a great DJ.
He used to hang out at Safari with me. He almost got me the overnight job. A couple things that happened where I couldn't get it, but Larry Martin was doing the overnights, and Larry got what a shame. He had pancreatitis or pancreas something, and he had passed away. So the overnight shift was open.
Yeah.
And Pat was fighting hard to get me in on the air there, but there was a change in corporate policy, so there was no way for me to get in. And,
right. At the time. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Don't worry about it.
No, I was going to say Todd Cavanaugh, who is the program director to this day for B96, he was actually on the air. So he used to be a jock, and then he became music director, and then he became the program director, the boss.
Well, yeah, because Todd worked at Elektra. I think he was at Elektra back then.
He was a records guy.
Yeah, he was one of the guys who came in.
He was an A&R rep.
Yeah. So, God, a long time ago. Jeez. So when you were at B96 the second time, look what I found. Can you see that on the screen?
Oh, yes.
So there's an air check. Let's hit it.
This is an emergency commercial evacuation. Now, B96 goes commercial free. Party Radio, B96.
Another commercial-free hour here. That's right, because it's Saturday afternoon. It's a nice weekend. We're going to have a nice weather for Super Bowl Sunday. How about sunny skies? Well, it's going to be a little windy, but mild. Temperatures getting up to near 30 for your Super Bowl party. Who's playing in the game anyway? Oh, well, B96.
Hey, Chicago, this is Paula Abdul, and you're hearing a commercial-free hour on my favorite radio station, Party Radio B96.
Little groove theory here. Nice.
Yeah.
I think you got another break coming in here. What a jingle package, huh?
Right?
They got a great jingle package then. Their jingle package was great. And then it was that Mitch Craig. Mitch was doing the voice. They got him from.
It was Mitch Craig. I was just going to look up the guy's name, but when you said it, yes.
Yeah, Mitch's first job ever, WBMX. Lee used Mitch.
Really?
Yep. That was his first gig. Almost 40 years ago. Oh, isn't that scary? Think about how long ago that is.
I know.
Yeah. Lee came in, changed the voices, and he put Mitch Craig in. That was Mitch Craig's voice was the voice for about 5 years. I think Mitch did it for about 5 years. Let me see. Let me find another one of your breaks here. Anything?
B96, WBBM FM Chicago. The year of B96.
Expose.
Great song.
B96 commercial.
There we go.
Party Radio, B96 commercial-free hour. It's Coco Cortez. We're just sitting here kind of grooving, you know? Sometimes you just kind of sit up in your room, think about your boyfriend.
Aww.
This is the new one from Brandy. It's called Sitting Up in My Room. Check it out. Tell me if you like it. Party Radio, B96.
Yeah, there's a couple air checks that I found, but I wanted to pull that one up for you. I thought that would be.
Oh my gosh, you brought back so many memories. Oh, it's weird to hear, myself and
Yeah.
even then.
Well, when you were there earlier in '90, that's when we were you had remember that Amy Lorraine record, Whole Wide World?
Whole
It
wide
was
world.
Yeah, and Eddie would loved the song. I think Eddie played like 6 times in his morning show once, yeah, with Joe. And then there was Stacey Earle, who had a really big record at that time too. It was called "Love You All Up," and that's when they were making a transition more into very, very heavy dance
Right.
oriented. One
Because
shakes,
it was considered a dance station in
yeah, yeah,
96.
yeah.
Because we did play, all the rhythmic dance hits, and then the guys who mixed, which we all know,
Mhm.
Julian Perez, we had Bad Boy Bill at the time, and they would do all the mixes and play all the house music. Because when I go out of Chicago, some people don't know house music, and if they do, they think it's from New York, which really pisses me off because it's not. It started in Chicago, but it's just I just love dancing to it. I'm a house head.
You went from a hippie to a house head. How
Yeah.
about that?
Hippie to a house head. Yes, and I had all the concert T-shirts because I always got a T-shirt at the concert, at the International Amphitheater, and the Stadium. Those were the two concert venues that I used to go to, and that's when tickets were like $8 and $10.
God, yeah, and it was all Jam. Remember, everything was a production of Jam Productions.
Yes, Jam
Yeah.
Productions, and I used to go all the time. I'd take the bus. I lived on Chicago Avenue, so I would take the bus to Halsted down, and walk a little bit, and there I was. And my mom let me go to all those concerts.
Well, because
Which
you
was
were
great.
you were a good girl.
Yes, I was.
My mother never knew I was going to any of those concerts, and then when she found out, she beat me and grounded me till I was 40. Because somehow I found a way to get in trouble when I went to those concerts, and I was never looking for it. It was there. It just, what are you gonna do?
And it's, you're so talented in many areas. I mean, did you get that influence from your mom? Because your mom was a performer, wasn't she?
I think just because I was around creative people, I just enjoyed creativity, and in a variety, from writing to I like to know how things work. That's why I got into programming. I liked to understand what made things tick, what made people listen to certain stations. Why? Was it the music? Was it the combination of the music and the talent? And the same thing with writing or acting, when you get into a character for whatever you're doing. It's just I'm sure I got it from my mom and my dad, but I didn't get the talent my mother had. My mother can sing 5 octaves, and still to this day she has a 5-octave voice.
Wow.
But I trust me, I'm the last guy. I'm the last guy who should ever design anything graphically, and I'm the last guy who should ever be singing anything. Nothing. Not.
So you didn't get that gene.
No, I didn't get that. No, not at all. But it's just and it saved me too. It kept me out of a lot of stupid things when I was a kid, because I had more interests. I didn't want to, it's like when that movie Scarface came out and everybody wanted to be like Tony Montana, and I was like, dude, did you see the end of the movie?
Exactly.
Did you stick around? Because it don't end too well. It's probably not the route to go, So thank God I had Second City and a lot of other things that I was participating in and taking part in, along with being a DJ, working the clubs. And I loved the clubs. I loved the South Side, the West Side, North Side. I didn't care. I left Chicago and flew out to Phoenix to work. I want to know what was ticking everywhere. It's just, that's how you get to meet people, just like you fly around and you get to meet people, and
right.
Certain cultural things are different, and it's like, yeah, that's cool, or no, it's not my thing, but it's their thing, and that's cool. That's how they do it. And it's how I learned how to do a lot of things, just like you. When you came back to Chicago, it was a little different for you, I'm sure, but it was still Chicago.
Exactly. And I always wanted to mix. I always admired mixers. I was always a fan. Like, oh, I used to love Ralphie Rockin' Rosario. And when I met him, it's kind of embarrassing. I was so geeked out. Like, oh my God, I'm such a huge fan of yours. Listen to
Ralphie, really? Oh, did he must have turned 16 shades of purple on you.
Oh, I just loved it. I because that to me is a craft in and of its own, knowing how to mix. People would ask me questions like, "Oh, can you DJ our party?" I'm like, I'm not that kind of DJ. I'm the kind of DJ that talks. There's a difference. But I've never tried it. But I've been around so many wonderfully talented DJs that mix. Mixers.
So what were some of the? Because I'll tell you, in the groups, let's see, is it in the BMX group? We were talking about this clubs. Oh, look at that! There's a little promo. See that?
Oh yeah.
Look how oh, and then Vic Gonzalez. I'm thinking to myself, oh God, again. Every time somebody mentions Bad Boys to me, I it's 40 years ago. I've done a little bit more, but that's cool. But I never realized it was such a cult kind of class or a popular movie.
It really was. I love Bad Boys. I don't know how many times I've seen it. I saw it over and over and over and over.
Maria says hello to you. She's watching.
Oh, hi, Maria. Or Madi, as we call Maria sometimes. Yes. The Latin people, we say, hey, Madi.
See, we had The Egyptian Lover. Remember that track?
Oh, my gosh, yes.
Now, this is in the BMX group. So in the BMX group, a lot of people, and here's what happens in the groups between the back in the day group is more about everything old school. It's not just the BMX stuff. The BMX stuff is more to that era, to the era that was BMX's best glory that we all came up with, 81 to 88.
That was the Hot Mix 5. That's where they started, right? With BMX?
Yeah. Lee put the organized it. It was supposed to be the Hot Mix 6, but one of the DJs never showed up. So it was kind of like that scene in History of the World Part 1 where Mel Brooks comes out as Moses and says, I bring to you these 15 commandments. He drops one and goes, oops, these 10 commandments. So they just went with it. They never lost a step. It went from the Hot Mix 6 to the Hot Mix 5.
Wow. Yeah, and then recently they've reunited, and I've heard they're doing gigs.
Well, they do gigs, they were doing gigs, and it's kind of like Kiss, Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley plug in new people every time they do a Kiss show. Yeah. So that, the original Hot Mix 5 was Ralphie, Kenny, Farley, Scott, and Mickey. And then then they left, went to GCI, then they became that Super Mix 6 briefly over there. Then you had Julian and Frankie, Steve So Curly, and Mike Wilson over at BMX while those guys were at GCI, and then that stuff came down. Then they did the reunion show with Armando at GCI in the mid-90s where you had Farley, Kenny, Scott, Mickey, and Ralph, and then they did the reunion show, which we've got on the Beats website, at the House of Blues. Remember, were you here? Did you come back?
The House of Blues.
The House of Blues was September of 2006, I think it was. They did the first reunion show, and that was sold out. The first night was sold out because they hadn't played together. The original 5 hadn't played together in 35 years.
Wow. And I never met Mick. He's the only one I've never met. Mickey?
Oh, he's a trip. Mickey's a great guy. He's probably watching right now with Lee out in Vegas.
Hi, Lee.
Yeah, Mickey goes back and
forth.
Hi,
Mickey. I never met you, but I was a huge fan.
I worked with Mickey at a club called Dior's. There was on 103rd and Cicero. When I was shooting Bad Boys, actually. That's when we were out there. So that had to be June, July, August of 82. Here's a great documentary too, Coco, that somebody posted. I don't know if you saw it. It was I Was There When House Took Over the World. It's it's in the WBMX group. It's a great documentary, really is. And here, you remember him, right?
Let me put my glasses on.
George Suarez!
Tony Batoy.
Oh, that's Tony Batoy.
And about 80 pounds soaking wet.
Oh my gosh, I remember doing so many gigs for him.
Jungle George. That's Jungle George.
Yeah.
George was on a couple weeks ago with us. So this was from Tony's TV show. That was one of the TV show that he did. What did he call it? I forgot what he called it. House Countdown.
Oh, I wonder when he did that. That must have been when I was out of Chicago working in another market.
1990. It was 1990.
Was it?
Yeah, he only did a couple episodes, and Armando was doing Chicago street hits at the time, which was on local cable access too. So Armando was spending like 18 hours a day editing his show when he wasn't on the air because he was doing a TV show, which was Chicago street hits, because he was doing street hits before the mix shows started in the 80s, and then he brought that over to do the cable version of that. Briefly in like 90, I don't know, it was 89, 88, 89, 90, right in that era.
Because I had cassettes. Well, I actually found them, when you're moving and you're packing, you find all kinds of stuff. And I found stuff from the Hot Mix 5, and they used to do the Hot Lunch Mix.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that. It was just great. They did a 5 o'clock traffic jam, and then Armando. I remember Armando because he used to host the show, and it was always Saturday Night Live, Ain't No Jive, Chicago Dance Party. I loved it.
Yeah,
I used to say that all the time.
Well, Friday nights, before they were doing the hot lunch mixes, and then there was hot lunch mixes, there were mini mixes, and then there was the 5 o'clock mix. There was a 10 o'clock mix that came later, when post Hot Mix 5, and that's when Bad Boy Bill was there, and Julian and Frankie, and Steve Hurley and Mike Hitman Wilson. That's when they added those late night, those 10 o'clock mixes, and then there was the Friday night jams, because Saturday night was so popular. They added the Friday night mixes, so you had the Friday night jams and the Saturday Night Live Ain't No Jive Chicago Dance Party. So they had
that was great. I mean, you had a party, you didn't even need to get a DJ because all you would do is turn on BMX and they were jamming all the time.
Yeah, and that was the only alternative. That was it. That was your alternative to radio back then, remember? I mean, you didn't have an alternative.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they had a lot of rock stations at that time, WMET and Loop.
Yeah, like
I said, when I was into rock and roll, and then I switched to a disco queen.
Yeah, you saw the light.
Yeah, I saw the light.
Let me see. But these are some of the songs, and here's the deal, in the BMX group, there's probably about 300 and something pending posts, and we have to monitor it and regulate it, because otherwise people won't see stuff. First and second, you might have 13 people post the same thing. So if you're a person who comes in a group and you keep seeing Rocker's Revenge, right, the harder they come, like, get a new song. That's all you ever see. You'd be like, dude, get a new song. But so we monitor it, and we bring them in intervals so people can see them all, because it's amazing in the last 2 months how the group has really taken off. So this is the BMX group. So one of the questions was, name a few clubs you partied at back in the day,
Yeah, just see that Eddie Rockets. I forgot about Eddie Rockets.
Yeah, originally that was BBC.
I remember BBC's. Well, not that I went. I was too young to go, but my sisters used to go, and they would, my sisters back in the day, I guess they influenced me a lot too, because they listened to all different types of music, and they would go to what was the Bananas?
Bananas, yeah, that was up by Coconuts, way up north.
And Coconuts,
yep.
And Happy Medium.
Yep.
And they used to, so I grew up listening to everything. I mean, my dad's music, the Mexican traditional music, mariachi music, house, salsa, everything.
What about Broadway show tunes? No?
Broadway show tunes? I got into that later.
Oh.
I got into that later, and I hope that nobody gets mad, but when I was a fag hag is when I got into it.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, and if you don't know what that is, that's a woman who hangs out with mostly gay guy, and I did for a very long time with my, at the time he was my best friend, Alberto. And he used to dance for Hubbard Street Dance Chicago. And, you know, they had dinner parties and they had all that stuff. So it was a lot of fun. It really was.
And even, you know, I didn't care when I went to clubs. I didn't care what it was. I'm here to check out the music. I never looked at anything as, oh, that's a different kind of person. No, that's just a person, and they happen to like the same music. They happen to eat cereal. They happen to do. I'm fine. I could care less. Didn't care. And now here, when you go back to this and you look at some of these clubs, wait till you see some of the clubs, because you're going to say, oh my God, I haven't seen that in forever. Let me check. God, there's a lot of comments on this one. Ooh. The Galaxy, right? I don't know if you remember, Julian worked at the Galaxy.
At the Galaxy?
Yeah. Yeah. We used to go there on Sunday nights. It was a teen club at the time. So we used to go there at Sundays, and Julian was probably, well, same age as me. So he had to be 15, 16 when we worked.
You guys were so young.
Yeah. Look at some of these. Oh, you got Shelter, China Club, Toto's.
Put the glasses on to see that.
Bobby D was at Toto's, right?
Oh yeah, the China Club,
Crowbar,
the Warehouse, Mothers, the Riv,
Red Dog. There's another
one.
Oh,
I used to love Red Dog. I mean, you walk in and you're walking into the dance floor.
Yeah.
You know, there's no fuss, or you're going to a bar and, you know, you got to go through whatever to get to the dance floor. No, the dance floor was the entrance. So that was really good. One of my favorites was Kaboom and Shelter.
Kaboom. Yeah, Kaboom. Yeah, I never got. I heard everybody and their mother, but I was working, so I never made it there. Never got a chance to get to Kaboom. But I'll tell you, like Hunters, Mark worked at the record pool, the old Imports record pool, and I think it was it's out actually where the office is at, out in Elk Grove. I think they were out in Elk Grove or up by O'Hare. Man, he used to play some great stuff. He played, and I think Vortex or Spin, Laura B was working at one of them. I
remember Vortex.
Yeah, Laura. I think Laura or and I was a Mike Torella. Somebody was working there. And I had gone when the Billboard Dance Music Summit was here in Chicago. There was a huge, man, what a great party. It was Harry. Harry Towers, who was a record rep, and Harry was at the label. What was the label here? Judy Cheeks. I forgot who else. Forgot the name of it. Was it Submarine? No, it wasn't Submarine. They had a huge record. Yeah, they had a huge record party at I think it was Vortex. What a great time, man. Great time, great entertainment, great performers, great DJs came in. But yeah, I mean, here's your Kabooms, Prime and Tender, Janelle.
Oh, Prime and Tender. I was going to say that too. Prime and Tender. Toto's.
Yeah.
In Schaumburg.
Kicks on 66. That was down the block for me when I was at the cottage.
Eric's North.
Fire Alarm, another home away from home for me.
Oh, was it really?
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah. Phoenix. I remember when Tony Batoy was doing was running the Phoenix, because he had Kenny spinning there. I think it was Friday nights. It had to be the late 80s when I was at Safari Club.
Yeah, because I remember we did one of our B bashes at the Phoenix. That's before, you know, we got, you know, real big and had more money, and then we used to do it at what used to be called the World Music Theater. Over and
then it became the Tweeter Center. Yeah, now I think it's a Midway. I think it's
I don't know what they call it now, but back then it was called the World Music
Theater,
and it was those B bashes were so much fun. They were so much fun.
Yeah, not so much anymore.
Yeah, and like I said, it's so different. The record labels, we would, you know, I don't know if I'm giving away a secret or saying something that's illegal, but they used to take us out all the time.
Yeah.
And they would, you know, take us out to dinners or even just the station, my boss. If we had a good, you know, ratings period, we'd go out to a place. Everything was paid for.
Yeah. And I don't think you're allowed to be nice to anybody anymore.
Yeah, I don't think. And then the biggest thing and the biggest draw for me, besides being on the air and being able to connect one-on-one with, you know, my listeners, I loved the fact that I could get tickets to whatever concert I wanted. And I was a big concert goer from, like I told you, when I used to go to the International Amphitheater and they had the stadium, now it's the United Center. I've always just loved music and live music. So it doesn't surprise me that I went into radio.
You have any good stories about anybody who came into B96 when you were at B96?
Oh my gosh.
You don't have to say names, just so good
I was there in 1990, and then I was there from 1992 to 1996. So I had 2 stints. But I remember one DJ I worked with, because I was always the only woman. At the time, I don't know why they didn't think that people liked women on the radio. They liked
because Roxanne came late. She came in the later 90s.
Yeah. And so I was the only woman, and the guys would talk in front of me like they would talk amongst themselves. They didn't care that I was a woman. They would say all their stuff. So they would say, one jock in particular, he used to take off his wedding ring when he went on gigs, and he would go and fool around in the car with the listener that he met, but it wasn't cheating.
Oh,
it wasn't cheating because it wasn't, put it this way, it was oral, so it wasn't cheating.
They talked about it. Yes, it was.
Yes, oral. And I couldn't believe that they actually. I would like, you know what? You guys are pigs. You're pigs.
Yeah.
But women didn't get the same kind of, in radio, like the groupies or whatever you call them, or.
Because a guy would get arrested for stalking you like that.
Well,
you would have somebody arrested if they came to you like that. Whereas a guy, he'd be like, "All right, let me take off my ring and hit the back seat. We'll be back. I'm going to give her my best 32 seconds. Be right back." So
because women didn't get the attention from men. I don't know if the men were intimidated or I don't know. Because I know that when I used to date, like when I was at B96, I dated a couple of guys who had a problem that I was, working for a radio station, had to do appearances, and, you go and you meet people, and of course you're going to meet guys, but it's work, and they didn't like it, or they had a problem with me making more money than they did, which I thought that is so antiquated,
Well, look, people are like that, just like it takes a special kind of person to be able to have a relationship or be married to somebody who's in the entertainment business, because we don't keep normal hours. We are out there generally with more people than normal, than the average person,
and we're nice people.
Oh yeah, that's why now I was never really a day walker. I used to call people who work during the day walkers. Oh, you're a day walker. Now I'm a day walker and a night talker, because I do what I have to do throughout the day now, and then at night I have other projects and other things I have to get done. So I do them both, and somewhere in between I try to get couple episodes of 2.5 Men, Hawaii 5-0, and Mannix in.
Mannix, yeah.
But yeah, you were working day shifts, so yeah, you were in the afternoon. Was afternoon, right? When you were at B96,
when I first started at B96 in 1990, he put me on at night. So I would come in doing a mix. One of the guys would bring a mix, and I remember one of my first days, or it might have been even my first weekend that I had to do the mix, and this.
Go ahead.
This skinny white boy came in and handed me a reel-to-reel, because that's what they used back then, to put their, to record their mixes. And, I was getting it set up, and I didn't even know who he was. And then I remember later I heard him tell somebody, yeah, that Coco Cortez, the new girl, she doesn't even know me. She didn't know who I was. And I'm thinking, oh my God, ego. But I was just like, just get out of the studio, because in the beginning I'm very nervous when I start a new job, and I'm nervous probably every time I go on the air.
Well, you were still using CDs back then too, right?
Yes, we were using CDs first. The carts. I was going to say 8 tracks, the carts, and then the CDs. And then everything went digital, and then I had to learn everything, and because I'm not the most computer savvy person in the world.
But you're getting there.
I'm getting there. I'm learning. Yes, I have my niece Marissa to thank, and she helps me a lot. So
Now
yeah.
in the group, in this BMX group, before we switch over to the band, and like you can see a lot of these posts, you can see a lot of these songs that will take you back to that era, you know. Trinier,
Oh my gosh, yes.
she's all hair.
That's true.
And Jay Novell, If This Ain't Love, another great record. And actually, next week we've got Jesse Saunders. Jesse's coming on. And then the following week, one of the co-founders of Emergency Records, Curtis Urbina, is going to join me. And he's going to try and drag Jelly Bean on with him, and Arthur Baker and a couple other guys. So it'll be a real old school pop lock and break dance and good time.
Yeah, that'll be great. That'll be great. I do miss, like I said, I'm living in Phoenix. I really miss Chicago, and I miss house. Because when you go here out, you're going to hear, top 40. You're going to hear your hip hop, because that pretty much is top 40 right now. And that's cool, but I miss my house. And I was told here that if I wanted to get some house music, I'd have to go to a gay bar, which I have no problem.
Well, I don't, I'll tell you, when I was going down to Phoenix in the mid 80s, those mixes that you used to run at B96 during the day, the Hot Mix Productions, that was Andy Starr, my friend Dave Rashput, and God, there was somebody else that was in there. I forget the other part. They were all down in Phoenix. And Dave was on a KZZP. Was at ZZP. I did a couple mixes for KKFR, which was 92. Power
92. That's why I worked here at Power 92.
Yeah, but this goes back to like 85, 86. And that's where, and they were syndicated on 100 and something different radio stations out of Phoenix. And then they sold it. So, and Dave was from Chicago, and he had settled down there when he got out of the Navy, and he had settled down there in Arizona. And because he was from Chicago, he became a club DJ. And there was a guy down there who owned a club down in, I want to say, was it Glendale or Phoenix? He owned a club called Malarkey's. And Dave was spinning there. Then he would spin in Tempe and at a club called Surprises. And I had spun at Malarkey's a couple nights on what they used to call the red cap night, which was if you wore a red cap, you got in for no cover. And
really?
Real original promo. And I was playing stuff like Hypnotic Tango, All My Passion. But then it got, they got more into the funkier side of things, like Midnight Star, No Parking on the Dance Floor, Freak Show on the Dance Floor by the Barkays, Sexomatic by the Barkays,
yes,
Love Gun by Rick James, which was like, where'd that come from? Because that was like 7 years earlier. But they weren't really into the house stuff at that time, so I had to break in little bits and pieces of it, like Native Love, absolute failure on their dance floors. She Has a Way, failure. Are
you serious? I used to love Native Love.
I know. Right on Target by Paul Parker, failure. Get a Little, Patrick Cowley, failure. Love Is Just a Game, Peter Brown, failure. Then out of nowhere, I play Music Is the Key, and they all started coming onto the dance floor. So I was able to break a couple songs here and there in that era.
Oh, well, that's good.
But it wasn't really, because it came from here in Chicago. And then as it spread out, as the house sound spread out, the licensing deals spread out. Guys were cutting deals with labels. Steve Hurley signed a wonderful deal with RCA at the time. So JM Silk was all over RCA Records. They had major label distribution. Signed a nice deal. Ted City signs with Atlantic. So now they've got That's the Way of the World, Devotion, a couple of all with major label distribution. Rocky licensed Communicate out to Epic. So Communicate goes from a local Chicago record. All of a sudden, it's being played at the Red Onions out in California. It's being played at Jeff Rose.
I went to the Red Onion in California.
Yeah, Red Onions were great place.
Yeah, there were they had them all over LA. My sister lived over there for a while.
Speaking of that, wait till you see this. So, about 15 years ago, I find this website. This is about 15 years old that I've kept this link.
Okay.
What it was, it's a 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s blog. So it's got a bunch of really cool stuff. And they have 80s clubs. So a lot, and I guess the way it worked back then is people would go to this website and they post basically a review of a club that they used to go to back in the day. No matter where it was, as you can see, there's New York, there's Florida, California, Texas, anywhere anybody would write a review. So I go through and I'm looking and I'm thinking to myself, okay, are there any Chicago clubs in here?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
So I'm scrolling down here and, I looked for like Eddie Rockets, nothing. There's a lot of Texas, a lot of there's Pennsylvania, and a lot of New York, different areas in New York.
I saw one Chicago.
Let's see, there's club. These are all Jersey, Michigan. So as those of you who are watching, you take a look at hang on for a second. Take a look at that domain there that I just highlighted. That's where you'll find this. You may find clubs wherever you watch. You may find clubs from back in the day that you used to hang out in, and somebody wrote a review on them. So I'm going to scroll down a little here, Coco, and find, bound to find one. Dylan's. I just saw something about, look at this place. Look at that. Look at it. K-Rock shows.
Haircut. Oh, K-Rock, yeah.
Haircut 100, psychedelic furs. Whoa, cool stuff. Oh, here. Dealers. Yeah. Look at it. Even got our name.
Yeah, see, I don't remember.
Yeah, that was 82 to 84.
82 to 84.
Wow. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I was already in Houston by that time. I really wanted to stay in Chicago. I just love it there. Right now there's a lot of things going on in Chicago that it's really different. It's nothing like what we grew up with, and it's a different Chicago. And
fire alarm.
I'm not too crazy about it now because it's just so expensive.
Did you get mixtapes sent to you when you moved away? Did anybody send you mixtapes back in the day?
No.
Nobody sent you a mixtape when you moved away from. Shame. Nobody sent you one mixtape.
Wait. I used to get some. Actually, I got that was before I left, I believe. I got a Julian Jumpin' Perez one. It's a 2 CD set, BMX, and then Armando's on that, and Rippin' L. Rodriguez, who DJ'd and mixed at different clubs in Chicago. He moved to Vegas, and he's making a pretty good name for himself in Vegas, except for now, he can't work because the clubs are closed. But yeah, he gives you mixes.
Here's a couple. Here's McGreevy's. Wow. Kenny was at McGreevy's for a while, long time ago. Kenny Jam and Jason was at McGreevy's. He was at AKA, was at Footloose.
AKA, that's my sister snuck me in there.
Oh, did she? Yeah.
When Frankie was DJ.
There's Medusa's. Wow, look at that. Two of them.
Medusa's, yeah. Berlin.
Metro, Smart Bar, yeah.
Oh, I used to go to Smart Bar a lot. Oh my gosh, I loved the downstairs. I never went upstairs to Metro. I always went downstairs to the Smart Bar.
Yeah.
And I would dance to the point where seriously my hair would be wet from sweat because I wouldn't get off the dance floor.
Neo, here's another one.
Oh, Neo. I remember going to Neo on Clark Street.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of there's Houston clubs in here too, but these people obviously whoever long time ago. There's Paradise Garage. Whoever wrote them, I don't know who wrote them.
Right.
The
That's
power.
An interesting page.
Power. Yeah, it's pretty cool, right? Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. Yeah, and here's that domain for those of you watching. You see where I'm, or my mouse is highlighted up there in the URL. In the80s.com. You just go there and you'll find a bunch of really cool stuff. It's like I said, it's been there at least 15 years, Coco. at least.
Wow.
Because I remember seeing that when I finally did a design for the WBMX website. I want to say in '05, because for years all Armando had was a picture of Lee Michaels. Armando had a picture of Lee for like 6 years. Coming soon, the WBMX website. And I told him, I said, dude, if we don't do something with the website, nobody's gonna be alive anymore. Nobody's gonna remember it. So about 2004, 2005, I put up a website, and God, actually, let me
I
see.
don't think I ever met Lee Michaels. Did
I
I?
don't. I don't think
Did he say he's ever met me?
No, you weren't here. He wasn't here when you were here.
Okay. I mean, I know the name.
This was the WBMX website 16 years ago. Can you see it on your screen?
Oh wow, yes.
That was when I had first did the design for the website, and I had put a bunch of different channels on it. Because back then, just like anything, you had to build a hub. You have to build a hub to get people to draw masses. You can't have one channel; it's just not going to work. So I was building hubs, and that's why I wound up programming 52 channels of music eventually. And this is before you know what Roku is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Roku, that's what Roku was then. See where my
yeah.
They made internet radio tuners. They weren't even in the TV business at that time, and I was working with them when we were moving those units.
They've been around that long?
Oh yeah. Roku's been around forever. About 20 years. But originally, this is what they did. They had this little sound bridge, and they had a couple other tunes. See, when internet radio when we started doing internet radio, and 96 is when I started streaming. Nobody knew what it was, you know what I mean? And nobody really understood it. But it was, to me, it was logical. It was like, okay, well, AM, then there was FM. Now there's internet radio. And there's this other stuff they're talking about called satellite radio, because at that time, satellite was still building. XM and Sirius were still building in 95, 96, 97. They were still getting ready to launch their satellites. So to me, it was a no-brainer to build a huge hub and a network online. So when we built BMX, I had built it in the same manner that I had built Cyber Radio, which was a bunch of channels. And as you got all these different contents, you got links. I wonder if we have. Yeah, here you go. So these were links to the DJs, right? Farley, Kenny, Mickey, Ralphie, Scott, Hitman, Terry Bristol. So anybody that was in Chicago.
What's the one I was going to tell you, and I couldn't remember his name? Mario Smoking Diaz. He was such a sweetheart. I met him when I worked at GCI. He was doing some.
That's right. Yeah, Mario, Super Mix 6. Yeah.
I worked with. I also worked with Ramonski Love back in the day, and Disco Dave. I don't know if you remember him. Away. May he rest in peace.
Yeah.
Great bunch of guys. Irene Mojica, I worked with her there too, and she is a legend in Chicago. She's been around working in radio, but not lately. Kind of like me.
Well, here, see, to show you how far that site that we went to goes, there's a link to it right there. So I've been using this thing as a source, just to share with people forever. 15, 16 years. So this is what WBMX looked like back then. Versus now WBMX, because I just don't have the time, so what we do is we just point it the beat, and then I repurposed the BMX content into the Beats website. So anytime you do a search for WBMX, bam, all the content that was on WBMX is all here at the Beats website now.
Wow.
Yeah, I just don't have the time to maintain two sites, let alone even the Beats website anymore. So it's a great place, and now we've got you on it. So how about that? You got to return to the beat again. When you were at 103.5 jamming oldies too.
Yes, I was. That was a really fun station because it was rhythmic too. I mean, you would consider probably a rhythmic DJ. And what we mean by rhythmic is, more danceable, more,
non-hippie.
Right.
Not hippie.
Right. And so, even now, like here, I'm actually trying to find a gig, but with COVID, everything kind of came to a standstill because I did have an offer here to work part-time at a radio station, but COVID hit and they went to a skeleton crew, and that was that.
Well, a lot of people on air are working out of their homes as well. So they're just working right out of their home. I mean, for a while there, most people who were doing the news were doing it out of their basement.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, here too. They were doing that too. It's loosening up. Oh, and speaking of, I just got my first vaccine today.
Good for you. And you feeling okay?
I'm feeling okay. I was like, oh my gosh, I scheduled it on the same day. I'm going to be with you, but everything's fine. I don't feel sick.
Good to hear.
That's good.
So,
did you get the COVID shot?
Oh God, no. The other industry I deal with, the COVID didn't have a chance with my body. It saw me and ran.
Oh.
COVID's like, no, don't go near him. No, just get away from him. No, I'm good. And like I've always told people, you can argue both sides of the issue till you're blue in the face, and everybody's got their beliefs. You believe what I do my thing, you do your thing. I ain't threatening nobody, ain't nobody threatening me, and I'm very respectful of people, as I expect them to be 100% respectful of me, or else then we got issues.
Exactly.
Don't do shit to people you don't want done to yourself. That's how you live your life. It's pretty
a great way to live.
Yep.
I agree. My mom used to say that all the time.
Yeah.
And it's so true.
Yeah, I mean that's all 10 commandments wrapped in, or 15, depending on how many there were, all wrapped into one. Don't do nothing to people you don't want done to you. That's it. Real simple.
Exactly. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
So I'm gonna get ready to wrap it up here because you're an hour behind us, so it's still early.
We're an hour behind. So
and for those of you just joining us, Coco Cortez, formerly of Z95, B96, WGCI, and 103.5 The Beat, which was a jam and oldie station here in Chicago before it became Kiss FM.
Right. Actually, I worked at Kiss FM and The Light.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You were at The Light briefly.
I was at The Light for a minute.
Yeah, 93.9, and that was The Light was LAK, and the mix was CLR. That's how it was back in the day. Yeah, originally LIT was WLAK, and it was like elevator music, but on steroids. Remember, FM 100 was the one that played all that elevator music.
Yeah.
And then
was that WCFL?
No, that was their call letters were WLOO at the time. FM 100, beautiful music. It was the kind of music you played when you're about to cremate somebody. It was it was horrible. I used to get visions of that scene in Live and Let Die when they're cremating James Bond, and that's what FM 100 reminded me of. Going through the crematorium, everywhere you went, the doctor's office, the grocery stores. They had this horrendous hit, and it was all the same. It was Mantovani, Ferret Teicher, Paul Moriarty, all the same artists, just orchestrating songs through orchestra. Bored my ass to sleep.
Yeah. I wish radio was back where they had personalities, not just people who talked. Like, to me, you have such a grand personality. You'd be perfect on radio when from back in the day, because they really did appreciate the craft of being on the air.
Well, thank you. That's very nice. But it depends on the demographic. You gotta remember, the kids ain't listening to nobody talk. I mean, they can't even listen to somebody, on TikTok for more than 13 seconds. So me and you, and see, that's a condition. That's how minds are conditioned. Like I told you before, we don't even realize that we're conditioned. Think of how many phone numbers you used to know. Now think of how many phone numbers you know today. It's just, parts of the brain go dead because we don't use them. There's the things that have come to take the place. We don't need it anymore. I try to keep my brain fresh. That's why I want to know everything. I don't want a mechanized version of everything. Even though I know it's there and I use it, I still need to know how to think. I still have to have an attention span. And talk radio is where there is an attention span, but not in a music intensive format. A music intensive format. That's why these PDs today, they're telling the DJ, okay, you got an 18-second break. Keep it short. Don't talk about this. Blah, blah, blah. That's it. That's it. You got 20 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way it is, Coco.
Do you think, though, the millennials, I guess you call them, do you think they still listen to radio? Don't they stream and?
Not really. No, they don't. Radios, because they know everything they want is on their phone. They have it saved either in YouTube and Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever it's at. If they want to hear somebody talk, they go talk to their friends. If they want to hear music, they got it all on their phone. And I want to hear this right now. And even the song, I've watched them do it. Even the songs that they like, they listen. Why do you think most of the hip hop songs are 2 minutes long now? Most of these songs are 2 minutes and 2:35 for a reason, because they're trying to beat up them spins. They get paid on the spins on Spotify and YouTube. So if you got to, really, at the end of the day, what more do you need? You got some guy talking over a beat. There ain't no hook. There's a hook and that's it. There's a verse that doesn't make any sense. There's no vamp. There's no bridge. So all you got is verse, hook, verse. That's all you need.
Right. And I remember, back when I used to work at B96, I would pray for a 4-minute song. That was considered a long song, or maybe, 3:59 or 4:25, 4 minutes and 25 seconds, because then I could go to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
I hated it when we had short songs after short songs after short songs. I'm holding it in the studio.
And Lenny Lane will chime in as new music is garbage. For the most part, it is. It's not look, to each their own. Like I said, everybody listen to what you want. I don't care. But you ain't never going to persuade me that some guy mumbling over a beat is anywhere even close to even what it started out as. Whether it was Heavy D, whether it was That's a Sonic, whether it was the Treacherous 3, whether it was Kumo D, whether it was Curtis Blow, none of this stuff even is remotely close to that. It's all about the beat. It's all about the drop, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a song. Sorry, a song. There's a structure to a song. These are sounds, and if that's what people enjoy, God bless them. Enjoy it. I don't have to listen to it. Neither does anyone else. Just like they can think all they want. Oh, old school sucks. Okay, well, I'm going to go have a potato chip now. Have a good day. I don't care.
Right.
It's just, it doesn't interest me. Like the Grammys, none of this. I have to vote for this stuff. To be honest with you, none of it interests me anymore. It just doesn't. I'm fried out, because it's about everything but the entertainment today now. Everything is about everything except what it should be. And it pisses me off. It bores me to no end. I don't want to hear what somebody thinks. I want to entertain me, dude. That's why I watch. I'm not interested in knowing about your personal life. I'm not looking at Teen Beat. Oh my God, did you know that he sleeps in blue pajamas? Yeah, I don't give a shit. Entertain me and get off my screen. That's it. And today, it's just everything is a culture. They have to attach a kind of marketing scheme to everything to get people to watch or listen to something. And you don't necessarily have to do that, but now we've been conditioned, so they do it all the time. It's always done. It bores me. So it
won't go away, right?
No,
radio won't go away.
No, radio is going to be there for music intensive wise, not so much. Give it 10 years. It's going to be talk radio formats, because you ain't going to be able to afford to pay the royalties that the AMs and FMs terrestrially have to pay if they're going to be streaming. They're just not going to be. They can't afford to pay people now. Some of these companies have filed bankruptcy twice, and they still can't make a payroll. They still can't figure it out that they've overpaid for everything. And if they would stop draining their salary, you got idiots at iHeart who are, honest to God, I would take you in your sleep above them, wide awake in a corporate meeting, and they're making $750 a year. They're idiots, but they're surrounded themselves with other like-minded idiots who, just like we know when you and I speak about the man whose name we shall not mention, in Chicago, who somebody must have pictures of him humping a goat, because there's no way in the world this guy should still be in radio making the money he's making.
Mm-hmm.
But they cover for each other. They surround themselves and cover. It's the, hey, you're great. No, you're great. No, come on. No, really, I'm great. I know I'm great too. You're great. We're great. I'm great. We're all great. And it's like a big circle jerk of idiots
Right.
and a never-ending parade of morons. Okay, I said too much.
No, but no, I understand what you mean. It's that's a
But you-
shame.
And you
I
can't-
always wished people that were in these positions just knew more, want to connect more, want to be out in the community. That's the kind of stuff that I really enjoyed when I was on radio. I mean, I love my listeners. I used to talk to them on the phone like a friend.
Mm.
And then sometimes I'd have an appearance and they'd come out and you get to meet face to face or whatever. I set up my Coco Cortez DJ page, and I've heard from a couple people there that were regulars.
Oh, you know what? Let's do that right now, shall we? See, now I already know it by heart. So Coco Cortez is on Facebook, and here's how you find her. I'm going to show you her Facebook page. Check this out. Because I know it by heart. I don't have to go searching for it. So it'll pop up here any second. There you go. So on Facebook, if you'd like to connect with Coco, it's Coco. It's at Coco Cortez DJ on Facebook. Now you're set up on Instagram, right? You did the right thing, girl. You set everything up uniformly. You did Instagram and Twitter, right?
Yes, I'm on Twitter too. I had taken some time out, from radio. I really want to work again. But like I said, right now, it's been really hard because so many people, just like any other industry, DJs got laid off. I mean, I still keep up with Robert Feeder, who was the radio TV columnist. He used to be on with the Sun Times. He's got his own.
He retired to do his blog
website. Yeah, he's doing this, and I keep up with Chicago radio. And then, when COVID hit last year, I mean, a lot of the names that they said that they had to let go, I know them, or I work with them, or it's scary.
And Eddie's over at what is it?
Star 95 something.
Yeah, they cover out here, right out in the Southwest burbs mostly. They own about 5 or 6 different radio stations out in the burbs, and Eddie's out here. I think Eddie's doing an afternoon drive. Talked to him last week.
Yeah, he's the program director. I mean, I would love to. My goal and my dream is to go back home and be on the air again before, later when I retire. It's not like I'm ready at all. But, I don't know. Whatever God has in store for me, then that's the way I'll go. But that's kind of like what I'm thinking at this point. And just waiting to see when people start hiring again.
Well, now you know how to use the computer too a lot better, right?
I've had a really good teacher, Sal.
I have my moments. Don't tell nobody I'm this nice, though. You'll ruin my reputation.
It's so funny because older people, like our age or whatever. Well, not you. You're an exception. You're just a whiz at all this technical stuff. But the kids know so much. I mean, my 5 or 6 year old nieces will tell me how to do things because I don't know how to do them.
My nephew. Go ahead.
They laugh when I told them I used to, we used to write on paper and with a number 2 pencil and,
Number 2 had to be a number 2.
Yeah, it had to be number 2. And that was in math. And then the other classes, you had to use a pen.
Yeah, my nephew, my godson, he is coding. He's 8 years old. He's already created a video game.
Oh my God.
At 8.
These kids are so advanced.
It's don't forget though too. It's also the way things are embedded in our culture. It's embedded in their culture.
In their culture.
When we were kids and we got our first Atari or our first Pong game, none of the adults knew how to play it. We picked it up like that.
Right.
Even though it was Pong, went boop, boop, boop.
Yeah, that's the one I played with the little ball. Yeah. And that was actually after that, I couldn't play anything else. I think I played Pac-Man and I was done in 20 seconds. And I'm like, video games are not for me.
Did you
I've
like?
never, I've never been a gamer.
See now when I go to an arcade and I still play Frogger, Defender, I play it, and then I want to put my hand through the screen because I can't get past like the first 3 minutes. But I love Frogger. I love Burger Time. Burger Time is one of my favorites.
I used to do the pinball machines. I did like that. And foosball.
Yeah. Which do you remember any really? See, pinball machines were my favorite if they had the ones I liked. Which one did you like?
Oh gosh, you're asking me something I'm not going to remember, but I do remember the place I used to go to. It was across the street from my house on Chicago Avenue in Levitt, right next to Ann's Bakery. And Ann's Bakery is still there, by the way. It was called Waldo's. And that was
a little arcade. Was it an arcade for the quarter?
Yeah, it was an arcade inside, and the front looked like a storefront, real just. But then once you went inside, and then it was, they had sub sandwiches, ice cream, candy, and stuff like that. That's where I met Joey Glorioso.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, and he used to work at Waldo's.
Yeah, no, I didn't know. Joey worked with me when we were kids at the Ambassador.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The teen disco that I started out at. And God, what a small world.
It is a small world. Well, hopefully I'll be back there, Sal.
I hope so. I hope so. Yeah, now this was a post Veronique put up today.
Oh,
Jiffy Pop popcorn.
Jiffy Pop, yes.
There's a little phonograph in your Viewmasters.
I had that record player.
Oh, you do? You?
I had it.
I was going to say, if you still have it, you should probably. You're not going to get a gig with that,
right? Exactly.
But you know what? You should bring it in one day. You should walk into an interview at one of those and say, "I'm ready to go." So,
I used to have to cue it up, like they taught you how to cue.
Yeah, and broadcasting school.
So it doesn't go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had to cue the records because I did work with records.
Yeah, me too.
My first job.
Yeah, when I got out of broadcasting school, we had to cue it. We had the big platters. There were these really big platters. So if it was a 45 or a 12-inch, you had to know exactly how far to set the thing back, so you could get because your board work was everything to you back then. Remember how important it was, your board work, to make sure you had the right transitions, the right whatever. And with the vinyl, it was a science to get it down with vinyl. The CDs, not so much, but you were still concerned about your board work, getting up to post and everything back then.
Exactly.
Not so much today.
Not so much today. You're right. I listen to radio, and sometimes, a handful of songs could pass, and I don't hear anybody. They almost made the DJ obsolete.
Well, for music-intensive formats for kids 12 to 24, they pretty much are. They're interchangeable parts, and they're not really a requirement or necessary as they used to be. However, when you're talking to the kids at night, remember back in the 80s and 90s, kids came home from school, they were listening to the radio. Today, they come home, they're doing a billion different things. Radio also didn't have the competition that it has today.
That's true.
Same thing with the disco, the discos, and even into the early 80s. There were no sports bars. There were no, nobody went to Buffalo Wild Wings. They went to a bar, they went dancing. And then so the competition came along, diluted the value of what was out there because there were so many other choices to do. And
that's true.
But that's the natural progression of things as well, too. Don't forget the horse and buggy was a wonderful idea. And the last guy who made outhouses, how do you think he felt when they put indoor plumbing in?
That's true.
Just sometimes shit happens. Ironic. That was ironic. So this is the back in the day group. So whenever you get a chance, you go through the group, you find some really great posts.
Oh, I'm gonna do that. I really am, because I especially, I can go on your site and hear house music, right? And house.
Oh yeah, you can hear. You can go. Hey, let me ask you, I'll be real quick. Did you eat butter when you were a kid?
Yeah, but I didn't do the sugar.
Really?
I did not. I've never done that.
You see, it was a very short period of my life. I was about 5, and I would come home from kindergarten, and I would watch. I don't know if it was the Funny Company. I think it was the Funny Company, and I would get a stick of butter and put some sugar on it and eat it. And I
Oh
don't,
my gosh.
I don't know where I got that from, but I remember doing it, and then I just stopped doing it. But it was one of the questions in the back in the day group, and
Yeah.
evidently a few people were pretty grossed out about it, which I think about it today and I'm like, yeah, I agree, but yeah, if you go to let's see here, you get to the beat on the bottom here.
Oh yeah.
Shoot Your Best Shot, that was from Fame, remember?
Oh my gosh.
So that's and that's from actually that was produced by Isaac Hayes too. That was the one time she worked with Isaac Hayes for that
Oh
album.
really?
She had that, and what was the other song? Red Light was the other song from Fame. They were on RSO at the time when that whole soundtrack was on RSO. So yeah, you go there and you can. That's the stream, and then if you ever want mixes, you got choices. You got an all by DJ, right? The entire chunk of mixes from Ralphie, and then if you just want to scan through, you just click that. You just click it, and bam.
And there you go. It's all there.
Yeah, and then if you want to know what's on the mixes, like Harry, did you ever meet Harry Hernandez? Harry was, yeah, you did, because he was with us at Cyber.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was one of my mix show DJs at Cyber.
Yep. Cyber Radio. I remember. Yeah.
I had you on the air briefly there. Yeah. Yeah, you were all happy. We played Kirk Franklin, and you were like, wow, that's really great. We're playing all this great dance music and Kirk Franklin.
Yeah.
Well, that was a jam, though. And we were Six Underground, too. I was playing Six Underground because it was a great record.
Yeah, you put Daft Punk, and that was the first time I ever heard them.
Oh God, I think I was the first person to bring Daft Punk into the country when I had them on my Street Style CD in February of '97. I said,
yeah, I remember that song because I really liked it, and I'd never heard it. And I was like, oh, where did you find this?
Oh, that was banging too. That boom, 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 and that record broke at alternative radio. Of all places, really? Alternative radio broke it before anybody did. They were played on alternative radio because Around the World was the first release, and people were using it in mixes briefly because that French disco sound really hadn't caught on here yet. And then, and then the funk came out, and then that thing just exploded at alternative radio, and that took them off to the races. And for the next few years, geez, I think they got $1 million to do a concert years ago. So they had a big following, and now they just broke up.
Oh.
So here's one of Harry's mixes, right? So you get the track list, you get to see all the names on the songs.
You get to see all the names, which is nice.
UCKG Elmhurst and W272DQ Elmhurst. No wallflowers in my house, so get on the floor. Come on, hit it.
Oh yeah, your boy, DJ Harry Hot Mixin' Hernandez.
So there's about 1,100 mixes on the website.
Well, I have no excuse now to have music when I'm trying to exercise and do better because most of the quarantine I didn't do that. You hear these celebrities on TV and they're talking about, oh yeah, I lost 40 pounds, or oh I did all these workouts and eat healthy, and I'm like, man, I binge watch TV and ate.
Yeah. Me and the refrigerator became one for a while.
Yeah.
I tried to beat my personal best at White Castle and came close, but no success. So anything you need, it's up there. Anyways, it was so nice to have you on.
Well, thank you. It was really nice to be in. I love you. You know that.
I know. I adore you too.
You have a wealth of knowledge. You're so talented. And, I'm glad you're in my life.
Well, thank you. Right back at you, babe.
All right, honey.
Well, when you come home, let me know you're home, okay?
I will.
All right.
I'll
So,
definitely let you know.
and for those of you just joining us, you joined us late. The show will be on demand. It's on the beatchicago.com's website, as well as the other Facebook pages that you've been watching us on. It's also on the Beat Chicago's YouTube page, so you can watch the entire show over again. It's the Back in the Day show. Next week, Jesse Saunders, originator of the house of the hot mix. So Jesse and I are going to be talking house.
Oh, that's going to be a good one. I'm going to listen to that.
Yeah, he's a trip. Yeah, I love him. I love Jesse. He's always been a stand-up guy. All right, y'all.
All right. Good night,
Yeah,
everybody. I love you. I'm so glad to be here and to be able to talk to everybody, and especially to Sal.
All right, and you take care of yourselves. You take care of yourself, and you're good. You.
Thank you, honey. Thank you. Say a prayer for me that I get a gig.
I will.
Okay. Bye.
To all deities that I know, all of them.
Oh, okay. That sounds good.
I'm gonna throw a couple of them Greek gods in there too, because I hear they got connections.
Do it.
All right, honey. You take care of yourself. Love you.
Good night.
Good night.
Are you ready to surrender, Rattler?